I am Marwan Cameron, and this is the Conduit. All right, y'all. It is Wednesday, December 15th. Wow, only 10 days until Christmas is the countdown. I'm sure the kiddos are really excited about that. 10 days till Christmas. Where did the time go? It is currently 37 degrees in Kitsap County, primarily Bremerton. It is cold and wet. There was a weather advisory until 4:30 today, but we didn't get any snow. So, I mean, it is what it is. What you gonna do? So, I'm not mad because I don't like the snow for sure. Those are just the facts. As the Rev says, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Or he says something along those lines. All right, I see the Rev coming on. So you know what time it is. We do our normally Wednesday night show with Pastor Ellington. So let me go ahead and bring him on up. How you doing this evening, Rev?
Blessed and highly favored. How about yourself, brother? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you again for having me. Do appreciate you.
There you go.
Yes,
I love
sir.
it.
Yes, sir.
Blessed and highly favored. So, you know,
Amen. Yes.
we do our show every Wednesday. I just want to check in with you first and just see how things are going. How's your week been? You know, any developments with your organization?
We just um um trucking forward. It's been a long day today, so you guys forgive me. My brain's a bit frazzled, so if I'm stuttering a little bit more than normal, I understand. Just one of them days. But anyway, we just continue to kind of just move forward and in our faith and doing what the Lord would have us to do. So I kind of put out a post today, let folks know that officially December 25th, be our very first time where we'll be gathering uh, instead of on a Sunday, on Saturday. So we'll be doing our gathering and fellowship time on Saturday instead of the traditional Sunday. And I want to, and I guess I gotta give this disclaimer for the audience. Just because we're holding our gatherings on Saturdays instead of Sundays, that does not mean that we 7 day Adventists. We still just plain regular Bible teaching Christians, and all is welcome. We're not adhering to necessarily adhering to let me turn it down, adhering to the we're not adhering to the 7 day Adventist culture or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, and so then Tuesdays, of course, we'll be doing biblical town halls. So it'll be based around either a book, a topic, or a character of the Bible, and I'm gathering material and preparing for that. So January 4th to be our very first biblical town hall. So I look forward to doing that. You guys get yourselves ready. Come on out and join us for that. Also, I want to let people know very first Wednesday of January, we're going to start our tutoring program. And so we're looking for, uh, you know, uh, fifth grade and first to fifth grade, they got to be potty trained to fifth grade. And yeah, so we'll be doing some tutoring. We hope to expand that as time goes on to include our junior high and high school kids as well. But we want to be a assistance to the community and help them out. And we got a lot of programs we want to get done, but of course it's going to take time and funding. So just be patient with us, and consider giving of your time, talent, or tithe to the ministry to help move things along. And with that being said, let me know if Sister Christina log on.
All right. Well, Christina, that's a shout out to you if you come on. Rev wants to holla at you. So, let's do a little recap and then go ahead and get into the show. As you know, last week we were talking about creating a social contract, right? And so we're going to continue that conversation. I want to recap for it's been a week, and then for anyone that's new joining us, so we've got quite a few people on already, which is awesome. And we already know what our issues are in our community. And this goes for folks in and out of the community, working with the community. It doesn't matter, right? When you're trying to work with another individual, or if groups are trying to work with each other, if families are trying to work with each other, then having or creating a social contract can be very powerful and very helpful as a tool, so that everyone knows what the expectations are and can effectively work together to achieve whatever the mission or the goal is, right? And there's some checks and balances that are based in there. So as we talked about last week, things like post-traumatic slave syndrome, everyone wants to be a chef, and no one wants to be the cook, jealousy, hate, all those things can be issues on why things seem to always dismantle, right? You get this momentum, folks want to get together and start something, and lo and behold, you get down the road a little bit and things start to fizzle out, right? Folks start fighting, infighting, you lost sight of the goal, people become very selfish, and it's all about them. It's not about the mission. They start looking at what other people have and how things are going. You got a lot of noise going on there in the background, Rev. There's some music, and then you kind of moving around a lot.
You say you hear music?
Yeah, I hear a little bit of music from your background there.
Let me turn it. My mic is very sensitive. And how about that?
Yeah, it's better.
That's better. Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
So, Thomas Hobbes, social contract theory. Thomas Hobbes devised the social contract theory in the 17th century. It stated that common security should be favored and that a bit of individual liberty should be sacrificed by each person to achieve it. I think what's important in that is if you're going to work together, you're probably going to have to give something up. Right? And so that whole saying of HNIC, or everyone wants to be the the chef and not the cook. Well, we're all running programs. We're all individuals and grown, and we want to do things how we want to do things. And so coming together means that you have to give up some of that so that you can be a part of the collective and move together. Under the social contract, the natural right of liberty would be mutually transferred. An example of this would be if someone gave up their right to steal property from his neighbor, while their neighbor also gave up that right. And so that's what that is, a social contract or working agreement. A social contract is not a legally binding agreement. Instead, it's a socially binding one. I have created social contracts in my class. So, we want people to come in on time, especially at the college level. When you come in, good evening, Brother Bailey. When people come into the classroom, you're adults. So the expectation is you come prepared. You were given homework. You've read the chapter so that you can have a discussion. So when everyone else in the class has read the chapter and they're ready to discuss the topic, but you haven't read it, then you're breaking the social contract, right? And so we all, hate to hear from those folks. Oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to read it. What are we talking about? Can you repeat that again? You get put into groups with folks, and then you got that one group member that's not doing any of the work. Everyone else is doing all the work. So you create social contracts. And so this is a very tangible tool that you can use, as I said, in many aspects of your life. All right, so let me pick off where I left off. The socially binding one. What that means is that each person in a team agrees to adhere to certain behaviors that team mutually creates. So it's something we all have to create and agree with. I don't get to set the rules and come up with the social contract. Pastor doesn't get to create all the rules and come up with the social contract. We all have to have input into this contract. And then at that point in time, once we've kind of worked through it and reworded it, took things out, added things to it, then we all agree to it. And then we live by that social contract, right? Quote unquote, being on code. Social contracts are unique to a team because each team has people with different personalities, idiosyncrasies, and objectives. There's a link here. I'll put that in the chat if you want to look at that information. I think it's important to have those references. Some things will be opinion, but other things are based in actual theories and fact. And so where we left off last night was just coming up with a few of the things that we wanted to begin to see in a social contract. So you have to ask yourself, what do you want in your social contract? A creation, a sense of order and predictability. So when I come to this group, I have an expectation that people are going to come on time. People are going to come with their ideas. People are going to come and be respectful. People are going to come and they're going to share. They're not just going to sit back quiet and not provide any input. But at the same time, everyone is going to be able to share what's on their mind and what they're thinking. And we're going to analyze it and talk about it. Creation of a safe space. Now, for me, I'm not really big on this one. And this is personal to me. And the reason why that is, Rev, is, there's a lot of talk around the buzzword of a safe place, right, over the last decade or so, right? We got to create these safe places or safe spaces. The problem is when we're so busy trying to police what it is that we're saying, then we're not saying what needs to be said. So there's a difference between being disrespectful and then stating how you feel and what your point is, right? And if you're being intellectually honest, you understand the difference in that. It's folks that are being disingenuous that don't get that understanding. I had a meeting today with several gentlemen earlier, and there's a difference between emotion and passion and just anger and yelling, right? And sometimes it's hard for folks to tell the difference. Oftentimes people can tell the difference, but they just want to say, oh, you're being an angry black man or you're being an angry black woman. And then they want to shut down the argument for that. Have you heard that?
Oh yeah. But get into a little bit more of your your tick with the safe place, safe space, terminology. Like explain that a little bit deeper. What ticks you off about that?
So again, it's just what I was saying, right? Oftentimes when people are creating a safe space, typically what that means, the way that I interpret it, is that folks that typically haven't had a space to speak want to have their space to speak, which is fine, and to critique it, but then they're not able to take the comeback on that, right? So, all right, you haven't had a space to speak before. Now you've been provided this platform to speak, but now you're saying simultaneously that I can't be critical about it, right? And so you see that a lot when, cis men are told, sit back and shut up, right? Or you're trying to mansplain, right? And we can get into misandry and things like that I've talked about before. So it's like, okay, you've been elevated to this space to talk, but now if I say anything that's critical, right, then now it's a problem. Now it's no longer a safe space. So, you can be wrong at the same time you could be doing wrong. You catch what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And so I guess for me, because that's some of the terminology like I use like on my website, on the church's website, that it's a safe place, a safe space for everybody. But I don't look in my my view of it, it's not about it being a place where people are elevated to have a platform for their whatever their rallying call is. In my eyesight, a safe place is it's somewhere where everybody, at least as far as my church goes, my congregation, it's a place where everybody can be free to be themselves, and we're not going to tolerate uh just ignorance, somebody coming in and just being ignorant, or um just woefully and meanful, with intentionally attacking somebody because of who they are,
Yeah, but you know what? I find that happens a lot, Rev, where you have out groups that have an opportunity to speak, and they're doing just that, right? Because they haven't had that opportunity to speak, and so now they find themselves in a position, and it's like, and I'm just using men as an example right now, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Oh
saying
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
just what it
Oh yeah.
is, but man bad, you did this, you did that, you men, this is an issue, men always do, you know what I'm saying? So then it becomes that, and it's like, okay, well, you say that you want to save space, but then you're doing the exact thing that you say that you don't want to happen in this space. You see what I'm saying? That happens a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've had this kind of talk, here on the show a few times, right? Where and I've said, like, if okay, I'll put it this way, right? For any place to be safe, right? We have to, be willing to accept that, opinions and differences is just a reality, right? We don't all look the same, what I'm saying? We're not all built the same, we don't all think the same, And so if, you want me to, kind of accept your way of thinking, then you have to be willing to accept my way of thinking and say, hey, that's where we're at, right? And just because we may not, kind of walk the same path of agreement on one subject, doesn't mean that, I'm saying, we cannot, I'm saying, be cordial and respectful of one another, because we differ in one area, because I don't care who you are, or whatever your cause or your rallying call is, we have more points of, agreement than we have of disagreement. And so, like, let's just not, if we can't, be, like I said, cordial and respectful in the discussion of a difference, then let's not, have those discussions, and let's just, again, focus on the commonality, instead of, letting that one thing, be a dividing factor. And I think that's the problem with, America, where we've decided that we're gonna, hyper focus, on the difference, and make that, that one or two difference, such an explosive thing that we're willing to, in some cases, disown family members, and, dismiss, lifelong childhood friends, and, all kinds of, just very sad things, because, like, we disagree on something, you know what I'm saying? That's a problem. And so we have to, we, in my eyes, we have to, make spaces where, we're gonna set a standard to say that it's okay to disagree. It's okay to not agree on everything. We don't
So
have
Rev,
to.
that's what the social contract is. That's why we got
Yeah,
to create it, right?
yeah,
Because that's where we are falling apart. So we know there's things that we agree on. The problem is that we have to talk about and work through the things that we don't agree on, and that's where things fall apart. So that's why we need
yeah,
the social contract. That's why we need the code, so that
yeah.
we can go forward. So as we're dealing with that conflict, we're finding a way forward, right? So
Okay.
I think about sports a lot, and no matter what you think about, I know there's a lot of Seahawks fans. So that year when they wanted Pete Carroll to throw the ball or not run it or whatever they were supposed to do at the goal line,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone
yeah,
is second guessing what should have could have happened. the thing is that you got to follow the head coach. At the end, the coach makes the decision. You know, you got the defensive line, the offensive line, they make the decision, and you go with it. Everyone plans, and then you go with it, good or bad. You stay with the plan, right? And if it doesn't work out, well, you got to live with that, and then you work out something the next time. But the problem is you don't jump ship and just say, oh, well, I don't like that play, so I'm not gonna play this down. I'm gonna go ahead and back out, right?
Yeah.
That's insubordination to the team. So that can't happen, and that's been happening in our community. And so we've got to do something different, and we can. So we just got to create these tools and then live by these tools so that we could do more and do it better. So let's jump back in there. So, you know, what the things that you want in a social contract: teaching self-control, development of social awareness and responsibility, balancing the needs of the group with the needs of the individuals. And even though we're talking about working within a collective, we still have individual needs. You know, the best thing that a leader can do, or leaders can do, is try to find what are those knowledge, skills, and abilities that individuals have, and then put them in those positions so that they can thrive, right? And then challenge them in that space. And we see it all the time. You know, we say, hey, there's this job that needs to get done, and we put certain people in those positions, and they hate it. They buck it, they half-ass it, and you don't get the best out of them. But then you put them over here where they thrive at, and they're an all-star, right? So it's things like that you can try to do. And then part of it, and that's the individual piece, right? Trying to measure the needs of the individual. But when it's the needs of the group, there are going to be some times when you're going to have to do something that you don't want to do for the group. And you need to do it with that same energy that you do it for the stuff that you like, right?
Amen. Yeah.
And then the last one is conflict resolution and communication. I kind of put these things together because this is a big part where we fall apart, right? We don't know how to deal with conflict. So either, you know, we got the fight or flight. You know, either we're gonna fight, and it's about proving our point, and that's the most important thing, and we don't care. We're not listening to hear, we're listening to respond. And our communication isn't effective, right? And so those are some big things. I see Pastor Ellington is adding some things in there. So those are the building blocks, and I'm going to just scroll up while Rev types there. So what we were talking about, we wanted to come up with one last week, and what Rev came up with: no person will allow others to speak ill of another in the group if they are not present. Okay, and that was actually echoed in a meeting that I was in earlier, right? And so we've talked about what that looks like. One that I kind of came up with two, but this is really a subset: the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions. Don't take things personal, and always do your best, right? We can get into those later. But tonight, I want to get into SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is a business terminology. And what that is we can apply SWOT to anything that we do in our life or in business, right? And so the title of this is Corrupt Folks in the Church: Why is Membership Dwindling? So we can apply the SWOT analysis to the church. So what I want to do is explain what SWOT is, and then I want to get your feedback, Rev, on where do you think the health of the church is. You don't have to do your church. You could just say, you know, the Black church in general, nationwide. And we're doing a SWOT analysis based on, because we need the parameters, based on why membership in the church by men has been decreasing rapidly over the years, right? And membership is down as a whole, but men is a huge one. So let me explain SWOT. The acronym of SWOT are strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I will correct my spelling here in just a second. And so what you're doing is you need to look inside, right? You got to look at yourself, and then you got to look outside. And so what I mean by that is, what are your strengths? What does the church already do well in regards to men in the church? Internal, okay? And then what does the church do bad internally? Now, of course, I'm the armchair quarterback, so I can tell you all kinds of things that the church does bad, right? You got pulpit pimps, you've got things like that. So we could call those things out. Those things drive men away from the church, right? So those things are internal. Now, the external would be the opportunities and the threats. So, what are some external opportunities that the church can leverage? And I'm going to let the pastor answer that one because it's so much easier to do the bad, right? So, the threats. The reason why Pastor Ellington changed his worship service, it's not worship anymore, but his service from Sunday to Saturday is the NFL was a threat. The NBA was a threat. No bus service in Kitsap County on Sundays is a threat, right? The opportunity would be, hey, there is bus service on Saturday. So, Rev, let's kind of go through these. And again, let folks know if you're going to analyze your church or just the church in general. And let's talk about this as an example so folks can get a tangible idea of how to use this tool. Sound
Okay.
good?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. So let's do the first one. Internally, what are the strengths that the church has in regards to membership for men in the church?
Okay, so I'm gonna I'm gonna assess New Horizon, and so I can't speak for other people because you know what I'm saying. That's not who I'm not. Uh, anyway, I'm gonna speak for New Horizon. So strengths you said for men at New Horizon,
Mm-hmm.
just opportunities. As I view it, opportunities for growth, opportunities to give back to the community,
No, you're talking
opportunity.
about your okay opportunities. Okay, you're using
Yes,
opportunities. So
I'm using a word.
I know, but it can be confusing because external is
Okay.
opportunities.
All right. Let me rephrase this. Strengths. So the men at New Horizon, they have a active voice in the governance of the church. They have uh, ample access to resources and materials that would help them in their everyday lives in various areas of need. I would say it that way, that they can apply on a daily basis. So um, tangible things that uh, uh, one may find themselves in need of, right? So I would say those are some of the strengths, right? That yeah,
All right. So active voice.
yeah.
Uh,
And I'm
so
a,
so
and I'm
men.
and as usual, I'm gonna of course think on this a lot deeper, and we may come back and revisit this this because I'm kind of on the spot thinking, but yeah.
Well, that's why I appreciate you because you're willing to do that. So many people aren't willing to be vulnerable in that space and say, "Hey, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to get it, 100% right off. I may want to add or take away or modify what I'm thinking, but these are my thoughts, and I'm going to engage with you so that we can all do better together."
Amen. Yeah.
A lot of, to me, we talked about last week, we were saying, can men cry, right? Well, oftentimes, like, can a man stand and be vulnerable? Can a man stand and be wrong?
Yeah, and I was just gonna say that vulnerability isn't a big nasty word. It's it's a strength. And so let's add that to our strengths. It's a safe place
Oh
to be
man.
vulnerable. I knew that was gonna trigger you. I knew that
Oh
was gonna tick
man,
you. I knew
this
it. I knew
snowflakes, man. Safe place
it.
to be vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, Ram. We got a safe space. I get it. All right, so let me just go ahead and type that one in there. And I'm just making fun, folks. Safe place is important, right? Because if it's not, if it doesn't have a level of safety, then you're never gonna get someone's honest thought, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. You can't be vulnerable if you don't feel safe enough to be vulnerable. So I don't want it to misconstrue what I'm saying in saying that this should be some kind of free for all where everyone is just yelling at each other and it's like, this is how I feel, so just take it. That's not what I'm saying. So I want to clarify that, so that's important. So I'm not making little of that, of having safe places in that regard. All right, so let's talk about the internal weaknesses. Why are men, and for me a big one is particularly black men, not attending church, and why is membership going down nationwide, but we're looking at New Horizon
Yeah.
specifically?
So I'll be honest. I don't have all the answers for that, and that's something of a ongoing investigation right now. But I would say some of the things that you named. Sports is
Well, hold on, that would be external. That would be a threat. So what
okay,
internally is the
okay.
church doing to chase people away?
Uh,
Ooh, we about to get into it now.
yeah, yeah, and I'm gonna have to really think about that. And you said okay, so we're thinking we're talking about black men, right?
Primarily, and you're talking about your
Primarily.
church, but
Yeah,
membership
yeah.
doesn't matter.
Okay,
Just nationwide,
just in
membership in the
general.
Christian
Okay,
church is going down.
okay. Man, that is a good one. And I'm trying to talk about New Horizon, um, and you know, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm gonna throw some stuff to the wall. It sticks, it sticks. It doesn't, it doesn't. Uh, yeah, no, we ain't got that. We ain't got that going on in my church.
No, I
No,
know. I'm just putting it down.
no,
I'm not saying it's in
no,
your church.
no. Okay, yeah, yeah. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. Um, yeah, so Mawan's speaking for the church in general, the global church. I'm speaking for the local New Horizon church. All right, so y'all see what he write, that's him. Okay, for New Horizon, wow, weaknesses. Well, I would just say, one obvious weakness is low membership, right? Because unfortunately, everybody wants to be a part of the something that's big, and saying a lot of people is there, but it takes those initial folks to kind of start trickling in to make it big. So it's kind of a catch 22 in that instance.
Right, but why
uh,
is the membership low? Right?
yeah, yeah, and again, and bro, that's my ongoing investigation that I'm trying to figure out and correct. Long services, just lengthy, just lengthy services that just just take too long. um Music can be a big one.
Why?
um
Elaborate on that.
so just music is very finicky because it's a very personal thing. People have what they like and what they don't like, and So you're gonna please some people, and you ain't gonna, you can't please everybody with it, right?
Right.
So some people may, want a traditional choir. Some people may want a band. Some people may want to have just congregational hymns. Some people may want pre-recorded music. So the taste just varies.
Mhm.
And so that's a big struggle. Is worship music, and kind of getting that nailed down. Some people, and this isn't an age thing either, right? This is just a preference thing. Some people like the older, style gospel. Some people, they want the modern style gospel. Some
All right, I
people,
got you. So what you're
yeah.
saying is you believe that black men aren't coming to your church because they the music selection is off.
I think that could,
That could be a
yeah,
reason. Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
And again, I'm throwing stuff at the wall.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I
So
just want to make sure
yeah,
we try to capture as much as we can. So
yeah.
all right. So music. What else?
Um, we're not. How do I say it? We're not what you would consider. We don't represent, the traditional uh, uh, Baptist church, right? The suit, the tie, the big hats, you know what I'm saying, the Sunday dress, all of that, right? And so, um, I think that can be an issue. We have a lot of, uh, you know, people that come from the South that's used to, that kind of atmosphere, you know, and we don't represent that. I think another thing would be myself, me, uh, because I'm not, you know, that old. I'm still pretty fairly young, and most people would rather kind of deal with somebody that's a little bit younger. And
I mean, a little
hold on,
older.
yeah, I mean a little bit older. Yeah, hold on one second. Can you turn it down, please? um and so they would maybe prefer somebody a little bit older, that they would view as being wiser, but that's not biblical, so I'm not you know too concerned with that. um I have not gone to seminary, so some people may have a problem with that. But again, that's not biblical as well. So
Well, what I would say
yeah,
to you on that, Rev, is whether you believe it's biblical or not, if you were listing this as a potential weakness, then it's something that and is driving your membership down, then it's something you have to address.
yeah,
So, you know, I wouldn't say that it's something that you should be concerned about. You know what I mean? Like I ain't concerned about that. It's like, well, if that's why they're not coming, then if it even if it's a non-factor for you yourself, then you still would need to address that to folks and explain why youth in seminary doesn't have the meaning on whether or not that's a church home from them and whether or not they can be fed and grow in Christ at your church. You know what I'm saying?
I do agree with you, and I will carefully prepare my words and make a statement on that. um but yeah, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, because I don't care that you went to seminary and I don't care that you're young. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's for me, that's not a reason why I'm not currently in a church. You know what I'm saying? But it may be a reason. But I know that people can I'm glad you said that, because some folks can find that as being dismissive, right? Like, well, I don't care about that. Well, it's like, well, that's the reason why I ain't coming. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
you don't intend it that way, but that's why I wanted to state that. Just,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like if someone's got some spinach in their teeth, we often just let folks go with the spinach in their teeth, and we don't help them out. It's like, hey, that's not what he means. So let's just
No,
clarify that.
no, I'm not being dismissive at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll and I agree with you. I'll prepare a statement and address that. Um, but yeah. So those are just things that like I said, I'm just kind of throwing to the wall. I haven't hit none of the things that I've listed. I haven't had anyone actually talk to me or kind of say anything about any of those, address those with me or anything, or bring them up as like, hey, this is a problem or whatever. It's just my assumptions.
So let me ask them, that's a really important point that you just put out. If no one has said those things to you, have they said anything as to why they're not coming, or why it's low?
No, no, no. I haven't gotten any feedback. You know, as to what that you know what's surrounding it. And I'll tell you this: as far as our current active members, we're where we're at, um, where we've been at since kind of like the pandemic, right? So um, there hasn't been any loss of membership since I've taken over. You know, so it's not like people have left since I've taken over. It's just kind of like once the pandemic kind of hit, like everybody else, we kind of hit a drop. Once we opened back up, a certain number kind of returned, and that's like that active membership. Um, we have actually gained uh, one a member since I've taken over, and we're finna start an active, recruitment campaign. So we'll see how things go, um, here in the near future.
All right, that sounds good. Well, let me recap this. We're working on the first two parts of a SWOT analysis, right? SWOT is the internal strengths and weaknesses of an organization. We kind of need some of this to create our social contract, and then we're going to look at the external factors. We're going to look at the opportunities and the threats. And we're doing an exercise where the Rev is looking at his own congregation and assessing his strengths and weaknesses. And if I may, what the Rev kind of left off with is, they're going to be doing some, active and targeting recruiting into the new year. I think one of the big issues with any organization or family or even an individual that's thinking about taking something on, right? I want to be a college student, or I want to be an entrepreneur. Well, what is your own SWOT analysis in that? What are your own personal strengths, your knowledge, skills, and abilities that you bring to bear to going into business for yourself? What are your weaknesses, right? A lot of folks will say, hey, I want to have my own business because I want to be my own boss. I don't want to be told what to do. And it's like, well, all of a sudden you got customers. Those are your bosses. So you're actually going to have more bosses. And if you go into business for yourself, well, if you don't feel like doing it today, then your business ain't growing. So, be careful what you really thinking, understand what it is that you're saying that you want. And so the Rev is doing it based on the church. And a lot of times, I even talk about this with my own organization, right? It's like, all right, we want to get some feedback. How was the food? Okay, well, they said the food was good. Well, what does that mean? How do we measure that? What was good about it? What wasn't good about it? So you're just saying that it was perfect, everything was just 100%, because if that was the case, then they would be ordering every single day, right? So that can't be it. Was it adequate? Was it exceptional? Was it, What was it? What could we do better? You actually need to get that feedback so that you can grow and do the best possible job. But most people aren't going to tell you, especially if you're doing a good job. They may just say, hey, you know what? You're doing good. That's great. They'll tell you if you're doing bad, but they may not even tell you. They may tell everybody else that you're doing bad. And so a lot of times I think the church has this dwindling membership, and why there could be some struggles on the rev saying, you know what? I don't really know why membership is low and why the church isn't growing, or why men nationwide are leaving the church, right? And not coming into the church. Well, you got to go and ask the customer. The customer is the men. And that's why one of the reasons why I started this series of, the Christians know they're going to hell, the Christians know the church is on fire and all this other stuff, because the opportunity is there to analyze that and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I should change the church service to a Saturday, right? Because I'm competing against the NFL and the NBA. And I can say what I want, but these Seahawks people are rabid. And they're going they're going to watch the game. That's it. That's the priority, and that's what it is. Hey, there is no bus service on Sunday, so folks that are on the bus line that would want to come can't come on a Sunday unless they can get a ride. But the ride that they might have wants to watch the Seahawks game, so they ain't coming to church. You know what I'm saying? And watching it, from on a Zoom may not feel the same as actually being in fellowship in the actual building. So, those are the things that we can analyze. Now, I do want to add some things on here just because, not from the Revs Church, of course, but because these are conversations either, or, the ways that I feel, or conversations that I've had with plenty of men on why they're not part of the church, right? And so hypocritical. Ooh, I think I butchered that. Yeah, of course I did. There's a lot of hypocrisy in the church, right? Do as I say, not as I do. What are you calling out as a sin? You can point out the sty in my eye, but you can't call out the plank in your own, right? There's a lot of that happens in the church. Go ahead.
So hypocrisy and is another derivative of hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
So you finna list both of those because it's the same thing essentially.
No, I'm just listing hypocritical. That's all I'm
saying.
Okay. People can be hypocritical.
Two. When you get done, I want to kind of go back to the strengths, because I was I was kind of making that list on the assumption of, like you were saying, just like towards the men. But if we're going to talk about like the church, just in general, like we did with the weaknesses, there's a couple things I want to list as strengths for New Horizon as well.
Yeah, that's cool. We could do that. Okay. I am focused more on the men. So when I'm talking here, I'm not talking about men and women or necessarily families. I'm talking about really primarily men, in this space, right? For my weaknesses here. Okay. Another weakness is, the women of the church following the pastor's word, becomes the head of the household in a sense, right? I'm going to write the head of household. Pastor said, well, a man who is, the king of his castle, who runs his home, doesn't want to hear from his spouse or from his significant other. Well, my pastor said, well, here in this house, this is what we do. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from men on that. Another one is that the sense of community has been lost, right? And so they don't see the church functioning in the way that it used to function, right? And being there for them outside of just getting the actual word of God, but being that community place where they can receive services and what that looks like, right? Like I said, the Black church was the cornerstone of the Black community, and everything was there. When I grew up, that's how it was. Whether my dad was there or not, we could be dropped off at the church and we were good all day because we're in vacation Bible school and we're in programming and everybody knew each other and we were okay and we were safe and we were learning, right? And this wasn't, you're just at the church. We were actually learning, and we weren't just learning about God, but we're being taught, actual tangible worldly skills to make us better in the world, right? So financial literacy, writing, reading, things like that. That used to happen in the church, right? And that doesn't happen a lot now. So I think that's one of the reasons why some men have gone away from the church. Another one is, and I talked about this one before, when I've come into some churches, don't feel very welcome. And at the same, let me say, not welcome, not feeling welcome, and then at the same time, being asked to, what can you do for the church? Hey, brother, I heard you were an attorney. Can you provide some free legal services? To us. I mean, immediately it's like, we need you to do that. Hey, brother, we need you to come here on Saturday and help us paint the church and cut the grass and do all this. And it's like, I don't even know y'all. I just came in here to see if this would be a place that I could worship, and you automatically trying to put me to work. And at the same time, folks is asking me, who's my people and what you doing here? So I'm good. And there's some of the churches that have done this here in town, which is why I don't go there. And so, again, you only get one time to make a first impression. And so if you blow it, you blow it. It's lost. And that person may not come back. So being asked to do things, and we know, Rev, you and I were talking right before the show came on, and we were talking about unemployment. We were talking about why people aren't working, and how companies got to do better, and they're paying bonuses and all these other things. And I think there's a lot of that similarity with the church, right? I mean, it's tough. Folks are struggling. They don't have a lot of free time, and they don't see the value in being connected to the church, right? And so I'm gonna write that one is the church does not relate the strengths and benefits to men, right? Because you've articulated some strengths that I don't think a lot of men see, that this is what they can get. This is more intangible, right? Okay, well, if you come into the church, you'll have an active voice. And it's like, okay, well, I've never heard that before, but an active voice to do what? Create programs, do things in the church. Like, what does that mean? Access to resources for everyday life. Is you going beyond the word? Are we gonna talk about in Bible study and learn about this actual chapter or this principle or whatever it is, and then you're going to teach me how to actually apply it tangibly to my life or tangibly to this problem beyond just prayer and faith, beyond prayer and faith. And then the safe place to be vulnerable. Am I going to come and am I going to be judged, or I'm going to be shamed? Brother, you need to be doing better by that woman there. You need to be doing better by your kids, brother. Come on now, brother. You got to, it's like, man, I'm not trying to hear all that. I'm doing the best I can. I'm coming as I am, and you tell me what I need to be doing, and I don't even have a chance or an opportunity to grow, right? So I would say a lot of men are like, I don't see what the internal strengths are of being at the church, and the church isn't doing a good job of doing that, aside from saying, well, you're going to go to hell if you ain't doing right, and you need to find yourself a church home, so come on in, and then you're just going to just talk down to me and talk at me. So those are some, I think that this really kind of encapsulates a lot of it right there, that last one, as some of the weaknesses.
So with the weaknesses and the strengths, I think, it comes down to having an opportunity to having an opportunity to be different, right? So like all the stuff you just listed, right? These are like kind of historical problems that have just been built up, and that's the expectation of going to church, right? Like if I go, I'm gonna run into, either they trying to pimp me and just get squeeze me for every dollar, or they trying to sleep with my woman, they being, hypocritical, all of these different things you listed, right? This is what people kind of have in their mind, and they're kind of, when they look at potentially going, this is what they see, right? And so what I'm trying to do is, change the narrative, not for you know for the church, as a whole, the body of Christ, because I don't think that the body of Christ has an image, but what I'm trying to image problem, what I'm trying to do is change uh the way that people view New Horizon, right? And say that, hey, we're not that, typical church that, all of these bad notions, come flooding the mind. Like, that's not who we are, and we're actively, actively, fighting against, being that, right? And I think most people that tune in and see that I'm the type of person where I can admit my faults, my wrongs, and I can come back and make adjustments. If I do happen to fall into say a point of being of hypocrisy. And like, hey, well, that was kind of hypocritical. Well, you know what? I apologize. Let me do better, and I can adjust and make changes. Right. I mean, a lot of that other stuff, like, I ain't pimping nobody, and I definitely don't want nobody carrying around my word, because my word will fail you. You carry around God's word. But so we're trying to, New Horizon is trying, actively trying to, uh, put forth a better foot.
So let
We
me ask you then, Rev. So how are you doing that?
So one,
That people can see.
yeah, yeah. So one, I began by re-imaging the church, putting forth just a visual, just different image, uh the secular world would call it branding. I changed our branding. Other than that, I think that was the kind of the biggest thing. I've shortened our services, because I don't want, you to think that, like, hey, we're trying to, just take over your life, and you got to be encompassed here all day. So I shortened our services. I changed the service days, so you can still be who you are and not feel condemned or guilty about, like, enjoying life, because God said he came to give us life and give it to us more abundantly. So we should be able to enjoy life. And so I'm trying to show people that New Horizon can be flexible, and we're not so stringent, and it's our way or the highway, or our way or go to hell, which the church has kind of been saying, like, oh, if you don't come, when we're doing things, then you just out of luck. That's why. So also tangible. With the services. That's why we've been, even before the pandemic, producing online services. And as much as I'm able to, I'm cataloging those services where all of kind of the before message stuff is just cut out, and you can go and just listen straight to the sermon. We have an open door policy, like, you can just come in, and I mean, literally, as you are. We welcome everybody. We don't have a dress code. We don't have people looking you upside your head. uh Renewing the purpose of the church. I don't know who's saying that, but yes, uh, yes, renewing, I think, is a good word, because this has always been purpose that Jesus set was to not come for the righteous, but those that are sinners, and make them understand that, look, you're still loved and welcomed and accepted for, even, because we all got sin in our life, for even for who you are right now, and so one thing I actively preach is that, look, I'm not trying to change anybody. And I can't change anybody because I wasn't able to change myself. So if I'm not able to change me, I definitely can't change you. And I don't want to change you. All I want to do is just introduce you to Christ, and so that you can have a loving relationship with Him. Oh, okay. That's my deacon on there. Um, and so that people can have a loving relationship with Christ. And if there's any changing that needs to be done, that's between them and God will figure that out. It's not what I'm doing. I don't, when it comes to tithing, we're very transparent with what we do at our finances. We have quarterly church business meetings where the funds are on display for the church, and for that matter, pretty much anybody that want to come in and sit down on the meeting. I'm not on salary. Nobody at the church is on salary. Everything is done just simply out of the love of our hearts, and the love for Christ. And so, all tithing money and donations gets put back either into one, making sure that the doors stay open, and then two, how we can serve our community. That's our focus. How can we, serve our community and meet their needs. And so, getting back to feet washing, and I think that's what you was talking about when you was talking about the not being welcome and being asked to do things. Instead of being asked to do things, we want to know, how can we wash your feet? How can we serve you? And not with some superiority, like, oh, I'm better than you, or something like that. No, it's like just genuinely and humbly, like, how can we help? And realizing that, one, we're a very small congregation and very limited funds, but nevertheless, it don't take a lot, to love somebody. It don't take nothing to, give somebody some love. And, just because I can't pay your rent don't mean that, what I'm saying, I can't do something to help, and so we're trying to meet our community where they're at. And so, and that's why, you know um, it takes a community, and that's what we want. We want to be a part of the community, and lift our community up. And so, those are some of the tangible things. We're developing new programs. We have a list of programs that we want to do. We have actually, we just added a new board member. We have a programs director, a young lady, 19, 20 years old, just young lady that has a lot of passion and love for people, and a lot of great ideas, and so it's like, hey, what kind of ideas you got? The father of our church, Janelle Pop Chapman, passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago. But we're creating a scholarship for the KISSAP community. And of course, again, we don't have a lot, so right now, I think it's like $100 or $150 scholarship, but it's something. It may buy you a school book or something, a college book, or whatever, because those books get expensive. But it's something that we can afford to do. So we're creating a scholarship to, help out young kids that's, struggling or whatever. So we got a lot of different programs like that we're trying to get done.
Hey, Rev, I
Unfortunately,
think that's awesome. I think that's
yeah.
fantastic. But what I'm going to ask you to do is will you type that in the chat and just label it 1 this 2 that, because well here's what's
I don't type that fast. I have
no,
people
it's all
type
right.
for me.
While you're doing it, I'm going to play something. But
Okay.
what's important about that is, again, I don't believe that the churches are doing a SWOT analysis. And if they are doing a SWOT analysis, then they're not actually going out into the community and saying, hey, this is what we're doing different. When McDonald's changes or adds to their menu, they let everybody know. You know, I mean, there was Coke, then there was what, New Coke. New Coke was a disaster, right? They got rid of New Coke and they had to do some other things to let folks know, hey, we're gonna get rid of this New Coke, but we still got the original and you still love us. So those things are important. And you talked about a lot of good things where you said, hey, look, I've looked at, I didn't know that it was SWOT analysis, but I looked at what are our weaknesses and what do I need to do to change, and then you're actually going about and making those changes. So I think that's tremendously powerful. Now, while Rev is playing that,
I don't have access to type in the chat, bro.
If you don't, just type it in the private chat there. Just type 1 and then a space and then just keep hitting enter.
Okay. Shoot, what all did I name? I may not get them all. I don't remember them all, but I'm gonna do as best I can.
All right. So as you know, I am the president of Resilient Ecosystems, www.reseco.org. Very important to make sure that we have sustainable food sources for our community. We need to do more in that regard. We have a myriad of health issues in this community. We need to eat better, and we need to know what we're putting in our body. And the best way to really eat is for you to grow it yourself. So education and providing food for all. And it's not just something edible for all, but actual food, right? Quality, healthy food for all is the program there through Roseco. So there will be more coming. As Rev is typing some of those things up, I also want to let people know, again, coming up here is, well, why won't it let me pop that on? Maybe I can't pop it on while the show is on. That's unfortunate. Oh, there we go. The 14th annual Hope 360 Christmas giveaway, Thursday, December 23rd, 2021. Tis the season. Don't let COVID be the reason. While you're waiting on St. Nick, make sure you don't get sick. On-site COVID-19 vaccine pop-up clinic. For registration questions, contact Surviving Change Kitsap at gmail.com, 360-471-0865. That location will be at Sinclair Baptist Church, 4900 Auto Center Boulevard, Bremerton 98312. I think they're also going to be having pictures with Santa on that day also. So shout out to Deborah Jackson and Surviving Change for their efforts. 14 years is a long time to provide services to the community. So I don't make light of that. It's hard enough if people have tried to organize and do things. That sometimes you do it once and that's it's dead. Maybe you do it for a couple of years and it's gone. 14 years is definitely. I think she deserves a horn for that. That's a big deal. I think she is giving away gifts. She works with banks and lots of folks in the community. I don't know if she has 300 kids this year, but I mean, it's literally in the hundreds. So shout out to her. The information is there. If you have information that you want us to promote here on the Conduit, all you need to do is just contact me. You can send that to marwancameron@gmail.com. You can also send that to, I'll go ahead and put that on the screen there. Gather, hold on there. Rev says he's not typing fast, but he's got 6 in. He's doing the thing.
I can't remember what else, but
Rev ain't talking now. Rev thinking I can see the smoke in his brain. He's
sitting there pecking like this, bro. That's hard work, man. That's hard work.
I love it. That email is gather2 grow@g2g2.org. You give us a phone call 360-373-3000. All right, so let's go ahead and get back to it. Again, as I was saying, we were analyzing strengths and weaknesses. We're doing the internal, and why I wanted Rev to type this in is this is him addressing the internal weaknesses, right? The things that he can change. External things you can't change, right? If you want to open up a burger joint and you got McDonald's and Burger King across from you, you can't put them out of business, right? They're there. So that's an external thing you have no control over. You have control over the internal. And so what the Rev has control over is rebranding. He has control over college scholarships, right? Community efforts and outreach. He has control over young adults coming into the church, putting them on the board and empowering them, right? Giving them a voice, which is one of the first things that he said. Gospel gathering and fellowship on Saturdays, so moving the service so it doesn't conflict with what other people really are passionate about here in this community, so that they don't have to feel like they're making a sacrifice, so they have to make a choice, or they feel guilty. And, well, you know what? This is a home game and I got tickets. Well, the Rev, I haven't been there for 2 weeks. And now, I don't feel like coming back because I'm embarrassed or whatever. So kind of moving some of those barriers. And it could be other things besides just that, right? Tuesday Biblical Town Hall. And I'm going to make an assumption here, but part of that is more discussion-based Bible studies, which is why he's changing it to a town hall, because then it's a two-way conversation and not just a one-way conversation, which I think is really powerful. And then also the pastor himself is having a more community-focused outlook, and also explaining why youth and non-seminary is a strength. And I think there's a lot of different ways that he can do that. And one of the ways is the youth, people that are youthful, feel like they can change things, right? That they don't have to be steeped in the mores or the cultural norms of a church, that some things can be changed without changing what the church is at a whole, which is worship and getting into the word and applying the word to your life. There's a lot of different ways to do that and trying to remove those barriers to do that. Does that sound fair?
It does. That's an accurate representation and all that you said. And you know, I don't always have the right words to articulate everything that is on my heart. But I think people that take the time to get to know me understand that what I do out of love, and that's another thing. The you know our tag, is New Horizon Ministries, where love is the answer. That's our tag. Um, so yeah, love's the answer. And that's what we're trying to emulate and show that you know love it. And when you read the Bible, and Paul did an excellent job in 1 Corinthians 13. So one of the things is, love's not judgmental. So we're not judging you because you ain't been there, like you say, in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. Look, you here today, and thank God for that. And we're gonna love you, like it was yesterday. And I was having a conversation with a good friend yesterday, actually. And we was kind of talking how, like, I'm kind of I think the word he said was introverted. I'm an introvert, where, like, I can go a long time without talking with somebody, but when I do talk to them again, in my heart and mind, it's like we just talked yesterday. Like, ain't no time didn't pass. And so that's how I treat people. Like, it don't matter how long you didn't, whatever. You know what I'm saying? We all got stuff going on. So yeah, yeah. Uh okay. So I think Brother Mawan is resetting his camera right now. So what I'm gonna do, guys, for you that's watching right now, I'm gonna put some contact information in the chat. I'm on my phone, so it'll pop up in the chat there. Hopefully, it should pop up in. Well, it popped up in one of the chats, but you can find out a lot more about what New Horizon is doing by visiting our website, which is just simply newhorizonministries.org. There's contact information on the website with how you can get in contact with the church. And there's various ways you know, if you want to support what we're doing at New Horizon Ministries, there's ways, again, to get in contact with us or to give, financially to support if you don't have the time. And then if are in, of course, if you're in need of something that we're able to come out and do for you, please contact us. If it's within our means and our availability, we'll figure it out. And so, yeah, we're trying to, under my leadership, trying to not be, all those weaknesses that Brother Mawan was listing, and those weaknesses that has plagued the church. Those don't have to be weaknesses. Those don't have to be the standards, and that doesn't have to be the way that the world sees the church. And so, when Jesus came, he was bucking he came bucking, what I'm saying, the traditions. And that's why the Pharisees and Sadducees, they didn't like him, and they was trying to, harm him all the time, because he did things differently. And so I'm trying to emulate my Lord and Savior and do things differently. And so that's what we're gonna keep on doing. We're gonna keep on pushing forward, um, and try and make a change for the better. And so we just ask that, if you're able, come out and support us, and helping somebody else, and if you know somebody that needs help, or you need help, yeah, contact us. So I think the next, what we're going to be moving on to, when Brother Mawan gets back, is the second part, the externals, the which would be the opportunities and threats. But because y'all know me well enough by now, it's right at that bedtime hour for me.
Yeah, we're
So
almost there, Rev. I just want to
yeah,
make sure that we, because the discussion, we're building our examples
oh
off.
yeah,
We're building our examples off the church, but then at the same time, we're also building our social contract. And so, I want to now start to relate that to that as our last thing, and we'll touch on the other two next week.
So that's what I was gonna say. So we're gonna do the opportunities and threats next week,
Oh yeah,
or do
absolutely.
you want to? Because we got maybe about 10 minutes. Do you think we can do the externals and then?
No,
Uh,
because it took us about 40 minutes to unpack that, and we still want
okay,
to relate it to, um, creating a social contract that we can all work from and agree to. And
okay,
so, in order to do that, we're definitely going to have to, take a little bit more time with that for sure.
okay,
So,
okay. That's
thank
fair.
you for picking that up for me. Um, so in that, we wanted to give you a tangible example of what it looks like to apply a SWOT analysis. Go ahead, Rev.
Just real quick, while you were gone, I typed my contact information in the chat. Can you post it for people? In case they need to get a hold of me, and like I was telling the people, if they need something, to reach out to me, and that's a 360 area code number. I forgot to put the area code on there.
All right, you'll have to type
But
it back in there because while I was resetting, I lost it.
okay, okay,
Just type it back in there for me.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Perfect. So again, we're looking at it in the lens of the church so that you can have a tangible example. Sometimes folks will give you tools, but they don't show you how to actually use the tool. And it's like, well, I mean, this seems great, but I don't know how to use it. So now you've seen the Rev use the first part of the SWOT analysis to look at his internal strengths and weaknesses within his church. We expanded that out just to the church in general. But as we are creating our social contract, as I scroll down here, you know, what are some things that we want to add into that, right? So the Rev put in the social contract, no person will allow another to speak ill of another in the group if they are not present. For me, I talked about the 4 agreements, be accountable, and then the SWOT. So, what are some things that we see that are in our internal strengths? Ooh, say that 5 times. What are those things that are our internal strengths? um, the information is in the live chat. Thank you for that. So you don't even have to put it back in. It posted. I just can't see it on my end because I get a brand new. It resets everything for me.
Okay.
So in that, when we're creating this social contract, some of the things that I've seen in the community that's been a weakness for us is we don't allow others to have a full thought, right? Or you know what? I'll do this. SWOT analysis. I think that we should apply SWOT analysis to people's ideas.
Mm.
What I see oftentimes is this, right? We're going around and we're generating ideas, and you may think an idea is just nope, that's not feasible. In our mind, we might be thinking, well, that's just stupid, you know. But if we're all coming to the table and we're being intentionally honest, and we're making an effort, right? When there's a time when you're doing brainstorming where you say, "Hey, there's no bad ideas." Well, even in that, you're not just throwing out anything, right? You are, putting some thought in what you're putting forward for the group to consider. And in that, a lot of times it may be because of the person, it may be because it's something that you don't really want to do. We won't even really give it any real thought, right? And so I think applying a SWOT analysis to ideas can be very important because by doing that, what it says is, hey, look, I'm taking my ego out of it. I'm taking myself out of it. I'm not saying that this is a bad idea because that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that this may not be a feasible idea because there are too many weaknesses and threats, and our strengths and opportunities can't overcome it, right? And there's something better that we can do. And so that's a way to take that personal piece out of it and that emotional piece out of it and look at it from a logical standpoint. So I'll leave it as that. It's just apply SWOT analysis to people's ideas.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Yeah.
All right. Some other things because we're going to wrap it up, but some of the other things that I want to talk about next week, we're just going to do the external opportunities and threats. But in the coming weeks, there are some other things that we need to talk about. One is, how do we deal with people that violate the contract? How do we, you know, deal with people that are off code, right? People that may
Accountability.
be, yeah. Well, what does that look like?
Yeah.
People could be colluding, right, with each other because they want to. Hey, man, we want to do it this way. We don't agree with that. Come on, let's do this, right? So you're colluding against others in the group. You may be sabotaging the group. You may be derelict in your efforts, the part that you're supposed to do, right? You see dereliction again, as I said, groups that are broken up in the college atmosphere, or even in grade school. So it doesn't matter if you're a high school student listening to this, or junior high. As I said before, you might have that you break into a group of four and you're told, hey, you guys got to turn this project, and you've got that one person that's derelict in their duties. They're not
Yeah.
doing their piece of the research, or they're not doing their piece of the assignment, and it's going to affect the grade of everyone, right?
Yeah.
And now the stakes are so much higher than just a grade, right? And so there has to be some functions in the group and triggers that are set, so that if someone violates the code, if someone violates the social contract, there's a process, and there's accountability, and there's consequence for it, right? And so you don't get canceled just because you break the code right off the bat, right? There's got to be these steps that we have to create and agree to. You know, you're going to have a conversation the first time it happens, and I'm just using this as an example. We haven't created
Oh
this.
yeah. Oh yeah.
The second time, maybe there's a conversation with a few folks on the team. The next time, there's some other type of sanction. Countries do this to other countries, right? They sanction other countries, and if you continue to do it, then there needs to be a large consequence if you break the contract and then you leave out of the group, right? Because this doesn't work if you just continue to violate and then you're out of the group. Then you got some folks that's like, hey, man, that's the homie. I'm just gonna keep on working with them. Then what are we doing this for in the first place, right? That we gotta hold people accountable. So you don't kick them to the curb for their first transgression, or maybe even the second or the third, but there has to be some accountability and some consequential triggers that are built in place that we all agree to as a group. And if you violate all of it and you're out, then you're out. You're not getting the support from this community, right?
But I think let me jump in a little bit, and I
No,
and
no,
I
let me finish my thought on that.
okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
And
for it.
so, because this is what we were talking about before, right? And we were talking about slavery rebellions, and meritorious manumissions. And folks, that there were three ways you can get meritorious manumissions. You can save a slave owner's life. You can invent something that would make things easier to do the work of slavery, or you told on those that were getting ready to uprise against the slave owner. And so, because if you don't hold them accountable, we stayed in slavery longer, right? Because people were telling and selling out. And so we've got to hold those folks accountable in order for us to continue to make the gains. We make these gains, and that's why we have sayings like coons or sellouts or whatever the case may be. Those things are real because there are people that exist in these spaces that keep us from growing. And the dominant society and those that would do us harm will elevate those folks, put them into positions, and say, well, there you go. There's your black person right there. There's your BIPOC person right there. So you can't complain that this is who is your spokesperson, because that's who has been elevated. Well, they may have elevated that person. And what I would say is, be careful who the dominant society elevates, because if they're elevating that person, you might want to look twice and see what the reason is why they're elevating them, and is there some other kind of nefarious positioning behind it, right? But that's why I wanted to be clear on that, right? We can no longer allow folks to skate and do things counter to what we're trying to do as we go forward, right? There's got to be some accountability for that, because that's what happens. Folks get to a certain position, and then they're just doing their thing, and it's the hell with everybody else. Go ahead, Rev.
Hey man, I apologize for interrupting you on your thought. What I wanted to what came to mind, as we were you were talking about accountability, is we need to also look at the flip side of that, and be logical and realistic. Back to our first uh show, that individualistic mindset versus the community mindset. We know most in our community have the individual mindset, and so they're going to be looking like, what's in it for me? And so we got to look at the flip side of the accountability and say, what is, the reward, uh you know um uh uh you know for for adhering to the contract. What because people gonna be like, hey, what what do I what's in this for me? And I think, we both know, that the contract is the reward, because it builds a stronger community. you know but you know sometimes you got to put the carrot out on the stick to get the horse moving. So you know yeah.
Well, and that's why we create it together, right? This isn't Marwan's contract that everyone follows. This isn't
Oh
the
yeah. Oh yeah.
contract that everyone follows. This isn't Marwan in the past his contract. This
I know.
is, people come together and create this, and then we're agreeing to adhere to the code. We're
Yeah.
agreeing to adhere to the social contract. So if someone is violating it, they're not violating Marwan. They're not violating, Pastor. They're violating the group. And
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
such, the group, you know, tries to, let me be religious here, love on that person, get them back on the path, and then we go ahead and go forward. But if that person continues to violate, well, you got to go, and then we got to cut you off because you're doing damage, you're doing harm,
Yeah.
and you are being individualistic. And one of the things that we talked about earlier, and I think that was in the definition above, was we are trying to create a collective of individual people and organizations, right? And so there are individual needs that have to be addressed, right? People have to feel like they belong, that they have a space, that they're they're their ideas can have a place to flourish. So you have to address and cater to the individual to that degree, but then the individual is giving something up, right? In that definition earlier, to be a part of the collective, right? So you can't be 100% individualistic. You are trying to be a part of this collective so that we can do better. All right. So the thing that we will be doing in the coming weeks, so you can see, we won't necessarily do it in this order because things happen and something may be more important. But some of those things need to be, if you're a part of the group, if you have a social contract, there should be a right of first refusal, right? You come to the group first. There should be, what are the rules centered around economics in the group? What is the rules centered around our children, our education? What about the opportunities? Oftentimes, one of the things that really needs to change is one of us will hear about an opportunity, we'll take advantage of the opportunity, but we don't tell anyone else about the opportunity. So they don't hear about the grant, they don't hear about the contract that's out there, they don't hear about the opportunity to make money. And so they miss out on it. We see that a lot, right? So that's one that I believe needs to be in there, and we need to have some rules there. Healthcare. I've had Dr. Yan from University of Washington, and they're doing the study from the Fred Hutchin Cancer Center on prostate cancer, right? And so we're trying to educate our Black men that your health is important, right? And you need to get your prostate checked. You need to go to the doctor. You need to have these conversations. By the way, if you're looking for $50 before the holiday is up, reach out because they are still doing the study and still looking for men. It's about a 45-minute conversation on the phone or a Zoom, and they're just talking to you and asking you questions about your health, right? So healthcare is important. Housing, right? One of the reasons why I have the Bremerton Housing Authority and Kitsap KCR on every Monday, and so our community is exposed to what's happening centered around rental assistance and housing, why there are issues that are going on in this county, what's being done about it. And when something comes out, information comes out, they're getting it as fast as humanly possible. And so there's a transparency and there's a sharing of knowledge and information. Okay. So that's really big. DCYF. Now, with DCYF, they used to be CPS, which is Child Protective Service. They're now the Department of Child and Youth the Department and Youth and Family Services. I might have that acronym wrong, but again, we want to keep our families out of the system. But if they are in the system, I was a foster child, we want to make sure that those kids are being taken care of in the best possible way, and they're being supported, right? Employment is a big one that we need to talk about. And entrepreneurship, celebration and acknowledgement. Personally, I get tired every year. It's like, okay, it's Martin Luther King, it's the Journey of Truth, it's Harriet Tubman, it's this and that. Well, what about the Daryl Rileys of the world? What about the Pastor Ellingtons of the world? What about the, Rob Dents of the world? What about the Doc Loves the Kids of the world? What about these unsung heroes that are doing the work in our community that they don't get their flowers while they're here, right? We just keep on going back to 1960 or 1800 or 19 whatever, Frederick Douglass. That's great, but if we are going to change and we're going to get our children to value what it is that we believe and know that's important, not LeBron, not Drake, not WAP, then we're going to have to talk about those things. And we're not talking about those things. When we talk about it, it's Martin Luther King, it's Malcolm X. That's all well and good, but we beat that dead horse to death. We got to start talking about the people currently, contemporarily, that's doing the work that we value, that is actually changing the community for a positive. So celebration and acknowledgement, law enforcement, what's happening centered around that? That's important. The justice system. I was having a conversation earlier and learning about where the line is between law enforcement and the judicial system, right? We talk about George Floyd. We talk about everything in between. I watch 5 or 6 news articles daily of injustices that are happening both from law enforcement side and the judicial system. Complaining about it on Facebook or Twitter ain't doing nothing. We got to do more. We got to get involved. We need to take action. We need to run for these seats in government, local, national, and federal. The big one is down ballot activity, right? Getting involved at the local level is actually more important than the national level. Historically, Black America will come out and vote for the president. They'll vote for the big election, but they don't vote when it comes to local. But the local stuff is really what takes really control, and it has a powerful presence in their lives, right? And then as people kind of move on, we can see there's a lot of QAnon and far right folks that are in office right now, and they got in there because, well, one, they decided to run and make their voices heard. So we can do the same thing. Baking, savings, financial literacy. Shout out to Up From Slavery for the work that they're doing there. Food, as I played earlier, food for all, right? We have an issue with obesity in our community. We have a problem with the bad foods that we're eating. We don't have access to food. We don't have enough food. Security, which is another one. Mental health, which is huge, right? We talk about can Black men cry? Can men cry? It's stigmatized to seek out mental health, right? That is seen as a weakness and it's taboo. But more and more men are talking about how, yes, you do need to seek out mental health. You are a fine-tuned machine. And if you think about the Trinity, the mind, body, and spirit, you can work out in the gym and you can be buff as hell, but your mind is gone. It's garbage, right? It's trash. You need to work on it. You need to get it right. You can have the other two, but your spirit is off and you're hurting, right? So you need to work on all three. And oftentimes we don't work on that mental health piece because we're just told, well, you just need to be a man, just buck up, be a man about it, right? Put your big boy pants on, whatever the case may be. But we need that mental health piece is really important. We need that training. There are things that the Rev has that he can train folks spiritually, right? There are things that I can do and train people through an educational lens or however that is. And we don't do enough of that. So it's like, hey, again, with the grants and the contracts, right? Some people don't even hear about those opportunities that are there. But then you might have that opportunity, but you don't want to share that information with someone or show them how to go about getting the ability to use that and grow themselves or grow their organization in that way. All right, their spiritual health and their needs, and then black owned support, which is what Rev put in there. So B1, we talk about how fast the dollar cycles in the black community, and how in every other community it takes so much longer before it cycles out of the community. And so these are the things that we need to do. This is the contract that we need to create. And there may be more things to add to this list. This is a living list that will continue to grow. And as more people come in and contribute to this list, this will be a very powerful element. And I think, again, as I said before, there are a lot of people that come together and they want to do something and it fizzles out really quick because the first sign of strife, the first sign of, hey, we want to take you over here. They break up R&B groups like that all the time, right? They start off as a group and they're like, well, we just want the lead singer. And the lead singer is like, oh man, I'm be famous. And they go and they break the group up, and that happens to us, and we fall for that. And it's like, no, you know what? You want me? You take us all, and that's
Yeah.
how it's gonna be.
Lead singer end up being a one hit wonder and
Well,
wondering why.
yeah, everybody's not gonna be Beyonce. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the code. That's the code. We bring each other up together, but we need something tangible because we have to combat against post-traumatic slave syndrome and the other things that get into our way of being successful. So that is my I didn't mean to give myself a horn. I meant to give myself the music. I'm gonna give you the last word, Rev. But we're gonna unpack that in the coming weeks. Every week would be a new topic.
Amen. Amen. Bro, I enjoy our shows. I appreciate you for, having me on and you know, uh keeping me focused, and doing the work. Uh I ain't gonna spill all the beans, but we got something, we're discussing. So you guys stay tuned. The new year is gonna be I'm excited and hopeful for the new year, and so we're gonna do some good things. It's I think 2022 is gonna be an awesome year, a really awesome year. So everybody just stay tuned, keep tuning in, be a part of the change. We can all sit back and be uh, um, what they call it, armchair coaches or couch coaching or whatever, backseat driving. But with what Brother Mawan is doing and myself, you have a opportunity to come and be a part of the change in this community and make where you live at something special, for yourself, for your offspring, your children, your future grandchildren or current grandchildren. Just it don't take a lot, to give an hour a week. If everybody did that, man, many hands make light work. So that's my rant. That's my rave. Y'all know I don't behave. So yeah.
All right. Well, tomorrow night, workshop, Black Ring Spirits.
Wait, wait,
As
wait, wait,
Echo.
wait. I don't Christine Wark. I don't know if you watching or not, but I want to say thank you. You know what you did. So I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate you. And I know God's gonna bless you in a mighty way. I know if you're not watching now, you always come and watch them. So just thank you, sister. Thank you. God bless you. All right, go ahead.
All right, I appreciate that. Tomorrow, Black Ring Spirits, 6:30, our weekly workshop with Res Echo. Don't miss that. Come on out to Port Orchard. Shout out to them. I'll be picking up a bottle tomorrow. It's this coffee whiskey. Oh man, this thing is fantastic for you drinkers out there. Do you sip, Rev? You don't sip? Well, I'll have your cup for you, and I'll just tell you how good it is.
You know what, not in a and here's the thing, and again, I'm not like nobody else. I don't see nothing wrong with having a sip of alcohol, ain't nothing wrong with it. Jesus drunk wine, it's just everything in moderation, moderation. But I don't drink not because I'm like, bougie, think something wrong with it. It's just, I don't drink. I don't know. Just don't. It don't entice me.
It's all right. I'll
That's all.
drink yours, Rev.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. As I always say, power is taken, it is not given. Take your power. We will see you.